I'm sure that most of you have heard of the whole situation about Steam censoring certain adult games, or at least that's what they try to gaslight us with. So what's actually going on, and what are the implications, and where can it all lead? So let's hop on the slides and write down the slippery slope of censorship and coercion. And if you think this is only about adult video games or only about video games in general, bear with me for a while. So on July 11th, Australian group Collective Shout in an open letter requested CEOs of major payment processors to cease processing of payments on gaming platforms which host games with various illegal content of you know what kind. It's even in Steam's own guidelines after all, so you might even think to yourself, so what? Some adult games with illegal content doesn't really touch me, and it shouldn't be on the platform anyway, right? Except that when we look at the activist group behind this, their history and the way this was done, there's a very scary painting on the wall. So let's get drawing. Collective Shout has a history of attacking the games, misrepresenting their contents, and trying to pressure platforms into submission. Do you remember Detroit Become Human? They tried to have it removed from Steam because of the domestic violence scene that served as a trigger for one of the android's protagonists' awakening. This wasn't glorified, celebrated, or even incentivized violence. The abusive father was a representation of the dark side of humanity and commented on how just being human doesn't mean much when even an artificial android can have more humanity in them than us. Pretty deep thought, but obviously completely lost on those attention-seeking self-proclaimed feminist groups. Back then, fortunately, Steam just ignored them mostly. So, if anybody thinks that these people are not touching your games, chances are they have already tried, or depending on where you live, already have touched them. But it doesn't end with Collective Shout Group. Visa is infamous for their coercion and censorship of manga sites and adult content in Japan. They are at this point well practiced in threatening to burn down the houses unless businesses comply with the whims of their imaginary moral superiority. And in some cases, it wasn't just threats when one of the manga sites, Manga Library Z, shut down because of loss of their primary payment processor methods. Need to guess what those payment processors were? You got it. And what was Visa's take on this? According to Visa Japan's CEO, disabling card payments for legal adult content is necessary to protect the brand. So you see, it's not just adult content games, but games like GTA 5 that got pulled from Kmart and Target in Australia back in 2014, or Detroit Become Human who had been under attack in the past. Adult games are just easy targets for them right now, and cautionary tales for us. They certainly don't intend to stop there, and we can only guess what misguided moral epiphany they're gonna have next. And the scariest thing is that now they actually can. They picked up the biggest of FGs and pointed it at Valve's head, threatening them to essentially put them out of business by removing payment processing from their platform and coercing them into changing their rules, making Valve de facto a subordinate to these payment processing companies who are now, at least for a time, able to force-feed their own rules to platforms like Steam and dictate what can and cannot be published on their platform. Not through court orders, not by any law in any country, just pure 100% coercion. Well, you would think that's bad enough, wouldn't you? But the slippery slope goes long and steep. Let's say they win this war, and once the gaming industry is all subdued and vassalized, what's next? I wonder what other industry is more or less fully digitalized and dependent on payment processors to keep the money flowing. Today, it's adult visual novels. Next week, it's The Witcher and Cyberpunk. Next month, it very well may be shows like Westworld, Altered Carbon, or Warrior. Yoko Taro, the game creator of Nier Automata, said, "The fact that a payment processor, which is involved in the entire infrastructure of content distribution, can do such things at its own discretion seems to me to be dangerous on a whole new level." And he stated that this practice endangers the democracy itself. Which, when you think about how far they can potentially take this, is pretty spot on. These companies now seemingly have the power to restrict the freedom of expression on a global scale, and if groups like Collective Shout or even others are now giving them targets, they are essentially WMDs in the hands of coercive ideological fanatics. So, It's been pretty much all doom and gloom up to this point, and I'm not sure if I can make it any better. But there are few sparks of hope on the horizon. But before I get to that, if you've made it this far in the video, it would be really great if you could drop me a like and subscribe. Let me know down in the comments what do you think about this whole situation and what do you think we could do to fight back. The EPI, or the European Payment Initiative, is an initiative at the time of writing backed by 16 European banks and is trying to build a payment solution for Europe. Elon Musk posted on X about X payments, which could provide an alternative to PayPal and PaySafe, and think what you will about Elon Musk and his maps, but as far as I can tell, the guy doesn't like censorship. And other than relying and hoping for a controversial billionaire on a black and white horse, a petition launched on Change.org counting 20k signatures at the time of writing and probably more by the time this video comes out, and has already been supposedly hit with a defamation claim. I wonder who by. And you might argue that petitions don't do anything, but then again, if that was true, who would even bother with defamation claims? So go on and sign it. It takes very little and cannot hurt anything. At the very least you will be able to sleep easier just knowing that you did something. Then there's Stop Destroying Games movement, which showed us there are ways and mechanisms to get governments involved, and again, think what you will about governments, but despite all their faults, they at least have a mandate from people to do stupid shit, unlike the CEOs whose only mandate they have are their own egos. So don't let them gaslight you into thinking this is only about illegal content or adult games. They have done, and they will again attack games like GTA, The Witcher and others, and they won't stop there. So go sign petitions, support channels covering these issues, like this one. I'm Hex and Slash, and I thank you very much for listening to me.